Okay, yes, we are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks? And it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no? See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, just a few days ago, I met this man whom I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot. And when I was at Findhorn, I met this extraordinary English tree expert who had devoted his life to saving trees. He just got back from Washington, lobbying to save the redwoods. He's 84 years old. He always travels with a backpack because he never knows where he's going to be tomorrow. And when I met him at Findhorn, he said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "New York." He said, "New York, yes, that's a very interesting place. Do you know a lot of New Yorkers who keep talking about the fact that they want to leave but never do?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "Why do you think they don't leave?" I gave him different banal theories. He said, "Oh, I don't think it's that way at all." He said, "I think that New York is the new model for the new concentration camp, where the camp has been built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia, where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made, or to even see it as a prison." And then he went into his pocket and he took out a seed for a tree and he said, "This is a pine tree." He put it in my hand and he said, "Escape before it's too late." See, actually for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. That we really should feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s represented the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished, and that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now, and that from now on there'll simply be all these robots walking around, feeling nothing, thinking nothing, and there'll be nobody left almost to remind them that there once was a species called a human being, with feelings and thoughts, and that history and memory are right now being erased, and soon nobody will really remember that life existed on the planet.
For the time being, at least, a UK military intervention seems unlikely. Why are we doing this outside? Well, because it's cold and it's starting to rain, and we can easily do it from a studio. I'm just wondering what... Yeah, well, that's very easy for you to say in your ivory tower. I'm just wondering what... Really? Really? Okay, do you hear what he just said? He just said, why don't you, for once in your life, just do the fucking news? All right, no, I'm going to do the fucking news. No, here is the fucking news. Ex-commercial TV PR man, old Etonian and occasional pig fucker David Cameron would like to bomb Syria. Unfortunately, Russia's got there first, and America's been doing it for ages. He wants to bomb Syria to stop the flow of refugees fleeing all the bombs. He's also hoping it will stop the increased influence of Islamic extremism. Bombing Syria will, of course, destroy the one remaining multicultural society in the region, leaving it open to the increased influence of Islamic extremism. To bomb Syria, therefore, is clearly mental. In other news, I'm doing the fucking news. In other news, Muslims are bad, China's bad, but not as bad as it used to be, and Russia is always bad. Nuclear weapons are good, and to suggest not using nuclear weapons is bad. Onto the economy. Debt is good. Corrupt banks are bad, but not bad enough for us to do anything about them. And poverty in the UK is a figment of your imagination. Onto housing. Jeremy Corbyn's plans to build affordable housing and create social housing for the poorest people in our society is a terrible idea. That's according to multi-millionaire, property magnate and all-round shitpot Sir Alan Sugar. Environmental news, there's nothing to worry about, so please carry on consuming at your usual rate. And finally tonight, entertainment. Matt Damon's intelligent and articulate observations about sexuality in Hollywood means that he is definitely a homophobic twat. My name is Jonathan Pye, and that was the fucking news! Yes, yes, I'm here. Yes, yes. Yep. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Well, with the Conservative Party conference
This
starting...
is the one question. The one question when they talk about the debt and the need to cut social services and increase your taxes, why are we doing that? Because we're in debt. To who? Who do we owe the money to exactly? Do we ever think about that? Who do we owe the money to? I'll tell you who we owe the money to. The Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the filthy rich banksters that are running this system, that our corrupt prostitute politicians gave the power to these tyrants to do. You all have not worked hard enough. None of you have worked hard enough. None of you working class people out there have worked hard enough. You haven't worked hard enough, and you owe the Rothschilds money. And they're taking away your social services, and they're telling you you need to go fight a war. In Iran now. In Syria. And what do they do with the war? They make money off of us. Again. And they send our sons and daughters off to war. To kill innocent people. To rape them. To steal their land. And all the while, with hypocrisy doesn't even begin to explain us talking about freedom and democracy. It is a joke. And it mocks all of us. And the head of the snake is the financial system. And Henry Ford rightly said, it's a good thing that people don't understand the financial system, because if they did, there will probably be a revolution by the morning. And it's true. We owe money to the filthy rich. That's who we're in debt to. They could say, we're going to wipe the debt clean. For me, that wouldn't be enough. Are you kidding me? You think you're going to get off that easy? For hundreds of years, you've been enslaving the people in your debt-driven system. And you think that you're just going to be able to wipe the slate clean and that's going to be it? Hell no. If you don't hang from a lamppost, you should consider yourself lucky for the scam that you have perpetrated on the people. And the thing is that they've got us all by this system. They control the money. It's not even paper to them. They don't even need to print the money. They can simply go into a computer, type in a couple extra zeros in an account, and someone has got money.
As far as when I joined the military, Chip and I talked about this. I mean, I have to be honest and say I look at the institution itself now as a total, as a monstrosity that creates monstrosities. The institution, while going through training, is a dehumanizing experience not only for the people who go through the training itself, because you're being turned into a killer. We have to be very honest here. We pretend as though the military is like a jobs program. It's college benefits. You can learn job skills there. Trying to shift the way people have thought about the military. At essence, what the military is, of course, is an institution for death and destruction. So what you're taking is 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. You're putting them through 13 weeks of boot camp training. You're putting them through 8 weeks of school of infantry training. And after those 20 weeks of training, people are ready to kill. And you're ready to kill on command. And that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to be a mindless machine. You follow orders. That's what the military is all about. You don't think for yourself. You don't have agency. You're not a human being. You're a cog in a gigantic machine. And for those who have power and wealth, of course, you're just another number. And for the generals, you're just a body. That's what we used to refer to other Marines as bodies. Like, yeah, we need more bodies here. Get more bodies on the ground. Get more boots on the ground. You're not a person, you're a boot. Get more boots on the ground. And what's inherent to that training? Well, people in the Middle East are referred to as sand niggers, hajis, camel jockeys, towel heads, barbarians, terrorists, women, bitches, cunts, Women Marines referred to as WMs, walking mattresses. That's why 1 in 3 women who are coming back from military service are reporting military sexual trauma, because their fellow brothers are actually raping them while they're in the service. That's 1 in 3. It's not far removed from the 1 in 4 women in America who already report sexual trauma throughout their lives, or have experienced it at least once. So, again, firmly entrenched in the military culture and in the institution is patriarchy. And homophobia. Of course, everyone is referred to as a faggot, queer, pussy, a cunt. Again, reinforcing that you're weak, of course, if you're gay, bisexual, queer, so on and so forth. All firmly entrenched in the training, all firmly entrenched in the ideology, and all firmly entrenched in the kind of linguistics and the lexicon within the military. In Iraq, as was talked about in the film, what did we do? We went on house raids, patrolled, either waited to get blown up by IEDs or mortars, because tactically it's insane. Everybody knows that you cannot win a counterinsurgency war, whatever winning would be. It's never happened. You can talk to the British who've been to Malaysia, you could talk to the French who've been to the Algiers, you could talk to the Americans and Australians and the rest who've been to Vietnam and Korea, and the Soviets in Afghanistan, and the United States in Afghanistan and Iraq, and every single time militarily have had their asses kicked, and rightfully so. But have also caused tremendous amounts of death and destruction, as Chip mentioned. 1 million Iraqis dead. 7 million Iraqis displaced within a country of 25 to 30 million people. An entire generation lost. People forget that when there's a war for 10 years, kids don't go to school. You don't develop. You drop depleted uranium-coated rounds that have a half-life of X amount of billion years, and so now you have birth defects in towns like Ramadi and Fallujah that are 500% what they were 10 years ago. We've absolutely devastated that country, the United States and the West. After 30 years of warfare, supporting both sides in the 8-year war with Iran and Iraq, the Gulf War, the sanctions throughout the 90s that Madeleine Albright and Bill Clinton said were worth it. 500,000 dead, women and children, Madeleine Albright on news, 10 o'clock news. Yeah, it's worth it. Absolutely. What was happening over there? We were killing people. We were killing innocent people. People were being taken captive. If they looked like a quote-unquote insurgent, you did what you wanted to do with them. We were in western Iraq, Al-Anbar province, a town called Al-Qaim, just south of the Euphrates and just east of the Syrian border. It was a free-for-all. There was no media there. There was no one to look after you. And the Marines took it upon themselves to shoot at, beat, rob, rape, kill, whoever they wanted to. And that's being proposed on the news as like a few bad apples. This is a very isolated incident. The work that we've done in Iraq Veterans Against the War has, I think, shattered those inclinations and thoughts. Because in those narratives, as we showed in 2008 when we had over 100 veterans who served throughout the course of 6 years during the war in different geographical areas, in different branches of the service, in different units, during different time periods, and different jobs, all of this was taking place everywhere throughout Iraq, and it wasn't being reported. Some of it was coming from high up in command, and others were taking it upon themselves.